All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Here from the Diamond Mind headquarters in sunny Washington, D.C. Welcome. Thanks for being with us today. I hope everyone's having a productive Thursday, and I want to thank each of you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us today. The webinar today is going to demonstrate just how working with a single payment solution can really help you reduce work hours and increase efficiency. So for introductions, I'm David Krimmel. I'm Strategic Partnership Manager here at Diamond Mind, and I've been helping schools manage and streamline their payments for 5 or 6 years. And my role now is to work closely with the best-of-breed software vendors, such as PayK12, to provide our schools with the absolute best available solutions and help them be more efficient and reach their goals. I'd next like to introduce Chad Renbarger, the president of PayK12. Thanks for being with us today, Chad.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining us. We look forward to going through our presentation and look forward to some good feedback and questions.
Great. So we did get a number of questions submitted during the registration process, and we'll try to address them all during the webinar. If you do have a question during the session, you can use the panel on the right hand of the screen and submit a question to us. If you don't hear the answers to your questions during the presentation, don't panic. We'll be holding a Q&A session towards the end, and we'll address any of those outstanding questions. So let's get down to it. Diamond Mind and PayK12 are truly two of the best-of-breed vendors that serve the K-12 schools across the nation. And today we're going to show you how our solutions can help your school reduce the time spent managing electronic payments and in reconciliation. For those of you not familiar with Diamond Mind, we've been the leading provider of payment solutions for independent schools for over a decade. And in that time, over 1,200 schools of all shapes and sizes have taken advantage of our school-specific merchant accounts. So our experience in schools and larger network of clients has made us experts in the daily school operations and the different pains around the payment acceptance. So we're focused on not just being a vendor to our clients, but really a resource to our schools for everything payments. So from helping those in the development office increase donations, to helping IT improve their security to enable them to be more PCI compliant, to helping the business officer simplify that reconciliation process. And we're going to hit on that today. So all of this has really helped us maintain a 99.5-ish retention rate. So Chad, do you want to give a quick intro to PayK12 before we jump into it?
Sure. PayK12 has actually been in the school market for a little over 10 years. Start out in actually managing in the athletic departments, where we had several large schools out of Texas, Ohio, and Indiana that were spending a tremendous amount of time on reconciliation at the end of games. And also with attendance issues. So we started out in the athletics side, and from that we have evolved throughout the entire school. As we start out in athletics and companies seeing what, or schools seeing what we were doing, the performing arts and the administrative side of it, and fees from everything from transportation to SAT exams started coming into the picture. So we have designed our platform around a district or a school that can, one, make it easier to reconcile reports that tie to actually what has been purchased, what has been bought by, whether it's events or items, and then also taking a lot of that the risk away with handling large or even small amounts of cash away from the school. And so, we've got several hundred schools and districts on our platform right now, and growing daily, and we have right now about a 96.4% retention, customer retention rate.
Got it. Thanks so much, Chad, for that summary. And yeah, it looks like we're right on line with that retention rate. Maybe we'll have a competition there. So you'll find that our solutions really complement each other, and with PayK12's payment gateway integration, you can simply plug in your Diamond Mind account credentials into PayK12 to enable Diamond Mind to power that back-end payment processing. So now the schools that choose to use both of our solutions will really be empowered to fully consolidate their incoming payments across the campus. And this is utilizing PayK12's portal, Diamond Mind's ecosystem of other best-of-breed school software vendors, Diamond Mind hardware applications such as mobile card readers, terminals, as well as tuition management through Diamond Mind's Tuition Pay application. And all the above is through a single merchant account and reporting platform. So I'd like to start by reviewing the results of our recent independent school survey that generated responses from over 250 schools across the nation. And the responses were reflected from schools from all over the market, ranging from varied number of students, enrolled, the tuition amount, denominations. So it's a good reflection of the entire market. So when schools were asked what their biggest payment processing challenge was, the unanimous answer was time and effort put forth to reconcile those incoming payments. And those of you not in the business office may not be aware that this is a major challenge, but I'm sure those of you who are know exactly what we're talking about. The problem really stems from having too many payment vendors across the campus, and it forces the business office to manage this very complex puzzle. And I like to think of it as kind of a Rubik's Cube, and not one that you can just simply Google and figure out how to solve it. So now, this is something that Diamond Mind has spent the past decade helping schools solve. Now, there's an easier way to offer schools the ability to offer convenience to their parents, to streamline those manual processes, to empower the business office to have control over those incoming payments, and most importantly, cut their costs. Over 1,000 of your peer schools are saving time and reducing their costs by consolidating their payment vendors, bringing their tuition and other payments online, and in turn, automating and simplifying their reconciliation. Better yet, these schools are capitalizing on increased funds due to the ease of electronic payments. So something else that came from our recent survey was just how far electronic payments have come across the campus in just the last couple of years. I'm sure most of us remember having to bring in checks or cash to pay for things like lunch and field trips and dances, athletic events around the campus. It certainly still happens in most of the schools today. And I can't imagine how the business office or district office can have any visibility into those funds flowing into the school around the campus. With the increasing number of technology solutions on the marketplace today, every department on campus has the resources to take electronic payments online. And as that happens, and as departments continue to operate on their own, the job of the business officer continues to get more difficult. So let's show you what we're talking about. So what does this really mean for the business office? So here's an example snapshot of a school that's using multiple payment processors across the campus. So in this scenario, the school is empowering the teachers at the school to accept payments through PayK12 for their field trips, their AP test costs, transportation costs, and also using PayK12 to sell their athletic event, season tickets, and those might have reserved seats for this year's school play. The website was built by Finalsite, and so they're using the Finalsite online forms for online donations. The PTO is using schoolauction.net to manage and process those mobile bidding payments for the annual gala event and silent auction. And finally, this school is using Diamond Mind's Tuition Pay to manage their tuition. So these areas on campus are likely managed by 4 or 5 different departments, all operating on their own. And if those departments just choose whichever payment processor gateway combination that they see first, it could result in a huge mess for the business office. And this scenario just isn't that uncommon. So each payment processor comes with its own contract terms, its own cancellation fees, and complex rate structures with setup costs and monthly fees. So this isn't just a headache to keep track of. It also leads to unnecessary costs. So as you probably already know, processing rates are determined by volume. So by leveraging the school's collective buying power, the total volume across the campus, each department could significantly cut the processing costs. So why pay monthly fees to 5 different processors when you can just pay one consolidated fee to just one? Each processor also has their own process for depositing the payments back into the school's bank account. So some deposit the funds every 2 to 3 days, some do it on a weekly or monthly basis, but that's really only the half of it. Some processors like PayPal, for instance, only deposit the net cost. So what does that mean? That is the total incoming payments minus the processing costs. And while that might not sound like a big issue, it's almost like adding an additional side to that Rubik's Cube that we were talking about earlier. It's tough. Additionally, the business officer is going to receive 5 statements in 5 different formats from 5 different processors, and when there are unexplainable issues such as refunds or chargebacks or even fraud, the business officer has a new customer service team to call every time. Managing one vendor relationship is really hard enough, let alone 5. So in case these statements are, in another scenario, these statements are only available online. And when that happens, it often happens that only the person that set up the account, that department, has access to that account. So the business officer then has to rely on that department to send them the statements every month. And that just sounds really like a recipe for micromanagement. And not to beat a dead horse, I do have one more scenario. Let's just call it the PTO, and they just collected 65 checks and permission slips for next month's field trip, and they dropped it off at the business office. They asked the bookkeeper to let her know once the checks have settled, so she can begin to record that class roster. So when you think about that, it's really not the best way that you can be managing that situation. If that is brought online electronically, all of that entire process can be automated and done automatically. So managing all of this essentially is a full-time job, and in that type of organization, it's not the job that necessarily I would want. So everyone, what's the solution? Now we estimate that schools waste 30 to 50 hours per month, and often on these processes. And here's the ideal scenario. When the payment processing is consolidated to just one vendor, the business office is empowered to focus on what's truly important. With one processor, your school will have just one point of contact for everything payments. Now imagine that this point of contact is a school payment expert and happy to help you through your school-specific issues, such as preparing for the annual audit and convenience fee regulations and PCI compliance, and I can go on and on. So over the years, Diamond Mind has partnered with the top software providers to K-12 schools, and therefore our clients have the ability to plug in their Diamond Mind accounts almost anywhere on campus where they're taking payments. So we'd like to introduce and hand it over to one of those best-of-breed vendors, PayK12. So I'm going to hand it over to Chad, and Chad, I'm going to make you the presenter here.
All right. All right. So how PayK12 is set up and how it was designed is on a permission-based level. So what you're looking at right now is the dashboard for an ISD administrator or a diocese that would oversee several different schools. So you can see up here I'm logged in as an administrator. Again, I have access to see data whether I'm at the high school. Currently I'm logged into the high school, a middle school, or an elementary. We have schools that literally will have up to 40 schools that are under the ISD permission-based system. And then from there, the permission base goes to the school. So for instance, the high school would have an admin over the entire high school. And then from there, we break it into 5 different categories of permission. One would be the arts, so that would where your performing arts would fall. The next would be athletics. The next would be administrative fees, extracurricular activities, and then also into the cafeteria. So from an ISD level, it can see anything that's going on in this high school. So it can see the money and the transactions that take place, either by an event that's going on, by items that have been sold throughout the day, or even the passes. From a user standpoint, We have different types of users, what we just discussed. So at this high school level, you would have, the person's name, and then what is their role? Are they a POS operator, which is a point of sale operator, a scanner operator, again, a school administrator, the ISD administrator, and etc. These are easy to set up just by clicking on Add User, and you walk through and give permission on what that person can or cannot do. Next is the customer. So a customer, what is a customer? A customer can be a parent, a student, faculty member, anybody that could possibly purchase anything inside there. Under the customer, you can have information such as what passes do they hold. Do they hold a reserve football pass, the card number, when does that card number expire? So we can shut that card number off and then actually renew it, and that card can then be reactivated again for the 2016 and 17 season. If you're selling reserve seats, we can even tie that card to what seat that is. You can take a look at the activity, if there's activity that this person has purchased in the past, and if there's any required items. Required items would be anything that would possibly pulled over from the student management system like PowerSchool. Things like certain classes that may cost, bus fees that could be in there, and you can see what items and whether they have paid or not paid inside of those required items. If you want to go to the next, would be an event. An event on our system would be anything that would require a ticket to get into, whether it's a performing arts, choir show, band show, prom. I think we just signed up, I don't know how many, probably 400 proms during prom season, homecoming dances, were all purchased online. To pull up and look at an event, this will give you an idea of what is, the setup for the event. What is the name of the event? What department does it fall into? Is it athletics, extracurricular, whatever? Is it football game? What level of football game is it? Is it varsity, JV, 8th grade, whatever? When is the date of this event? What is the time? Set up the tickets. So you can set the different ticket prices. Whether it's general admission, handicap, home band section, obviously you can do as many of these want. And also if there's any sort of an event that would require a registration. We have several events that require registration, and one of them is actually prom, for instance. Next, what we could get into would be the passes. What type of passes are sold, so we can manage all of those in one single location, whether it's your football pass, your all sports pass, your theater ticket, all season pass. We have faculty passes, there's all of that. So all of that can be managed into one system. The nice thing about this is they can also be renewed online when those expire at the end of 2016 or 15 season. For instance, right now we have, I don't know how many thousands of tickets being sold or passes being sold right now, and renewed, trading, anything that you can think of associated with any sort of pass. Within the passes itself, we also can do reserved seatings and build out stadiums. So as you can see here, this is a high school stadium that actually, here in the blue, they actually have reserved seats. So when a person comes online, they can actually figure out where they'd like to sit, what section, and purchase the seats of where they would want to go. You can also pull this up and see that those two seats right here, for instance, are actually owned by, I love the creativity of our IT team, those two are owned by Tiger Woods. So I guess since he's not playing golf, he's going to high school football games right now. So you can see who owns those passes, and so when someone would pull this up to purchase this online, they would see that those seats are available and everything else that's around there is not. Next are items. As you can see here, there's a list of items that are all laid out. To add a new item, it's simply click on Add Item. You walk through which department this item is, the category, the name it. You can see that if you pull up one of these here, it's the name, the cells, is it free, is it fixed, is it a variable price? Do you want this available for sale on the web, or do you want it on sale in a point of sale system? A lot of our schools now put our point of sale system in usually 3 different places. So they have one that they use in the front office, one in athletic office, and then others that they have it in the performing arts area. And then they have a lot that they use now on the concession side of it. So once something or an item is set up and a patron or a customer is out, they can actually, when they go to your online store, these are the things that they would see. So they would be looking at, there's different items for sale, whether it's administrative, athletics, cafe, extracurricular. So they can click on, the athletics. They could go to an event, pick which event they want to go to, find tickets, and actually purchase the tickets right there online. Pay for that, whether it be online, they can pay with credit card or with e-check. So our point of sale system, there's 2 different options when you're into the point of sale system. You can either set it up as an office point of sale, meaning it's something that may be sitting in the athletic office that, and you're just selling anything that they want, or it can be set up as an event. And then what you would do is you'd have all the events that were scheduled in there, and you could actually tie it to the event. So for that event, if you only want to sell certain items and you want to tie all of those sales to that item, for instance, a JV football game, then you would hit for the event POS, and it would pull that only those items. To do that, this is the item, so you can have all the different, again, administrative fees, arts, athletics, your camp. So if you want to sell the event tickets here, you pick which game you would want to buy. When you pick that game to purchase, again, it takes you back to the stadium. So I can go through here and I can say I want to buy, that ticket and that ticket. I've selected my seats, and I can pay right here. And if I'm at the game, I can pay with credit card, cash, or check. I choose, so someone could be sitting there taking the cash. I can take the cash, $8, boom, and I can complete that order right there. With the point of sale in the office, it has a credit card swipe on it, so that they can actually take the credit card right there. And a lot of our schools have really pushed us to head towards the path of they want to go cashless. We have several schools that have already gone that direction, so anything that's brought into the school is paid for by credit card or debit card, and I think we probably have a handful now, 6 schools that have completely just said no more cash. Next is the reports section. Over here, the reports, so you can do sales reports by sales, by events, by passes, by registration. So if I want to do a report, for instance, for sales for a certain date, it'll tell me which school I'm running this. Right now I'm running it for the high school, so I can see what the art department sold, athletic, cafeteria, extracurricular, administrative fees, total sales. And I can continue to drill down into this data as I want to look at, what is breaking down inside those sections. So I can see in the arts department, how much was cash, how much was credit, school fees and what those were. You can continue to break those down further and further. So I can see that AP exams were bought, quantity, the amount, total, and then the reconciliation. You can also run reports for sales by for an event. So I can say, this was Chadwell Test Demo was the event. How many did I sell? I sold 5 and collected cash for those 5. We can also do it by things that are involved with a registration. So I would get a list if there was a registration for AP exams. I would pull out, this would be the order ID if you want to tie it to an order ID number. What date did they pay, the method of payment, student's first name, student's last name, student ID, phone number, email, etc. And this is the same with customer information as well. And we build we have the custom registrations that are built into the item that you can attach to them as they are walking through and purchasing that item. If it is a required registration, they will not be able to check out until that registration form is filled out. So that is a very, very, I guess, quick, high-level view of our software and kind of how that works, and be glad to open this up for any questions.
Great, thanks so much, Chad. Yeah, I'm just going to take back control here. Alrighty, yeah. So yeah, thanks so much, and it's really great. There's really nothing else out there on the market today that is designed for schools to take the incidental payments such as this. Oops, sorry. If anyone is interested in seeing a personalized demo of PayK12, feel free to contact Chad. His information is up here on the screen. We are also going to email out. Oops, email out a copy of the presentation and all of our contact information. So why don't we get to a couple questions before we wrap up here? So we did have a couple of questions that were submitted during the webinar. So Chad, if I could ask you a question, can you talk about your support at all, or what you guys can offer to schools that are having any issues while using your platform?
Oh, of course. Yeah, one of our biggest, I think, assets is our support team. We walk through a very good process of when we bring someone on board, as far as training, the ability to make sure we get the right people within the district and within the school up to speed on our system. We've got not only our regular hour support team that they can call. They have an actual point of contact, whether it be someone like a Chris Light or a Chad Button, and we have David. So we have several people inside that they'll be assigned to, along with an after-hours support for not only our customer, meaning the school or the district, but also our customer's customer. So if they're 11 o'clock at night trying to buy a ticket and they can't figure out, what happened to their ticket, they have a complete support staff as well. I would say if you talk to any of our customers, that would probably be the #1 value that they would put on us, is definitely the support if there is any challenging.
Yeah, great, and that's just one of those things that we really feel strongly about, and it's one of our philosophies and value propositions that we try to really help our schools really with anything related to payments, and that's really what we look for in our partners. So another question, can you talk about the different user permissions that you can offer to different, whether it's different campuses or different departments, and how that can empower everyone to just do the job that they need to get done?
Okay, so how we identify that is, so you have what we call an ISD with administrator. So that administrator would be and have access to all data at all the schools. And then we would have what we call a school administrator, meaning that administrator is tied and able to look at everything that is associated with that school. And then underneath that school or the schools, we have levels based on the departments. So we would have, and you can have multiple department administrators. So if you want to have 2 people that's in performing arts or 3 people in performing arts, then they would have access to the data only that's either set up or used within that department. And the same with athletics, performing arts, extracurricular activity. And then we also have what's called a POS operator, which is the point of sale operator, and that is someone, for instance, that you'd be sending out to a gate before a football game starts, and maybe they would have, set them up, and they would just have access to sell items there. So when you check them back in, for instance, if their drawer started with $200 that night, they sold whatever, 5 tickets at $5, so then when they check back in, they would have the 225. So our process of reconciliation at the end of the night of events is extremely easy, but that operator is just limited to that system for that event and only to sell items.
Got it. Great. And yeah, it's really important to empower the specific departments to get their individual jobs done. Here's another question for you. Can you talk about how training is handled? Is it only online? Is there an initial setup that the staff is going to help with? Can you just go into that a little bit?
The process that some people have different processes that they feel more comfortable with, but what we lay out is that once someone comes on board, then what we do is we gather data in the beginning so that we set up the school for the district and the schools for them. So we would actually send you out a spreadsheet and say, okay, here are the different roles. Can you tell us who, what, and when for each school, for each department? And we actually go ahead and set the system up for them from the beginning. And then what we do from there, depending on what their training schedule is like, how many different schools, then we would either come on site if they have a training day, and we go through and train those different people, whether it's from the ISD level all the way down to the point-of-sale operator, and do that. And then we also have the online option if someone needs to be retrained, if someone wants to see that. We also are putting together modules that they can either print and look at. So we have an item setup form. They can literally take it. It walks them through one by one on how to set up an item, how to set up an event. We also were in the process actually of even doing a video to walk them through there. But most people have given it real good feedback on just the sheets that we give them, and being able to pull those out are helpful or go online to help. And we're always here. I mean, we have schools that say, hey, will you set up our 2017 football schedule for us? And we go ahead and just set that up for them and walk them through it and, as well. So the system's only as good as the users and their ability to be able to use it. So we take a lot of pride in making sure that one, we've made it very simple to use. That's why you saw the steps as far as 1, 2, 3. We try to walk them, what we always say, down a rabbit hole, so that it's not very difficult to do. Once they do it a couple times, it seems pretty easy. The most challenging part for most schools is around the passes themselves, just because for some reason high schools love to sell passes, and they love to sell 15 different types of passes. So we always said it'd be easier. We're based in Indianapolis. We always said it'd be easier to set up where the Colts play and their season ticket holders than it is sometimes to set up high school football.
Right. Right. And Chad, regarding your reporting capabilities, how can a school decipher when they're pulling a transaction report from your system, how can they decipher what payment is from what department? So if something is athletic fees or if something is donation, how can they differentiate that?
Well, again, that's on the on how we set an item up. For instance, is we talk about that rabbit hole is one. When you're setting an item up, you're first picking what department that item goes in. Second, you're picking what is the category of that item. So is that category a fee? What we associate that with everything, and then again we take it to the next level. Is then what is the name of that, so that they're able to tie that back even further. And then obviously if there's a registration associated with that, then that can tie right back into that student. And then for people that are, some of our, for instance, PowerSchool user, since we have a single sign-on, if someone comes in and logs on with their PowerSchool sign-on, and I'm the parent, I'm Chad, and I log in as the parent, and I go down, and my daughter is Ellison, and I pick all the stuff that she needs to buy, and then I can go ahead and pay for that through PayK12, and obviously that is associated with that student, and then shows you that if my daughter Ellison owed, bought a $50 camp and a $50 book, and I paid, it would show that she paid for those items, and those items would be tied again to a department, to a category, and to a name.
Got it. Perfect. And you mentioned PowerSchool, and that's really exciting that you have that integration done. And I know your reporting has the capability to export, a CSV file of all of the relevant information for the transactions, and that can be manipulated by the school to import into whichever accounting or SIS system you're using, whether it's senior systems or Blackbot or in residence, whatever it is. You're going to be able to do that because of the dynamic reports and all of the information available. That's about right?
Correct.
Great. So here's a question for you. I'm actually not sure of the answer. So can PayK12 manage a type of campus store with different supplies and spirit items that they could sell, similar to the way that you're selling the tickets?
Yeah, we have spirit stores set up all the time. I mean, a lot of our schools have spirit stores.
Got it. And I think that's something that it will be really valuable for our schools, and it just seems like a really easy way to sell those items in this platform that could also be used across the campus to accept a lot of other different types of payments. Yeah,
and we're very upfront with stuff. The only thing that ours system doesn't do, what I would say great, is an inventory management. We have not put that in yet. One, we've not really had a lot of schools that have asked for that, but it doesn't have a true inventory system if they were going to look, if that's something they were looking for. But I would say majority of our customers have some sort of spirit shop.
Yeah, we see that as well. We see that as well. So I think that's all the questions we have time for today. If your questions did not get answered, we will have someone reach out to you. We have all of the questions on record, and we will be sending out a recording of this webinar to everyone who registered and attended as well. So you can forward this off to anyone that you think this might be valuable, whether that's to your school or someone, a different department at your school. We're